All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this distinguished lecture series organized by Polio Academy for Interdisciplinary Research, or PAIR. My name is Qingyan Chen. I'm the director of PAIR. And today we have a great pleasure to have Professor ZHU, who is the senior advisor to the president of the Eastern Institute of Technology Ningbo, or Ningbo Dongfang Ligong Daxue. And he is in charge of the university research work and in connection with the industry. In addition, Professor Zhu has been a long career at the Western Ontario University, where he is a distinguished university professor and Canada Research Chair in the Department of Chemical and Biological Engineering. And he's also the director of Particle Technology Research Center. So Professor Zhu has been working on the chemical engineering for his entire career, particularly in the fluid particle systems, powder technology, and the related research area. So in the early 1990s, I was very lucky working with Professor Zhu for almost 3 years. Through a team organized by the Chinese Academy of Science. From that experience, I learned quite a lot from his research. So he's a very outstanding researcher. He received he's a fellow of the Royal Society of Canada and the Canadian Academy of Engineering. So similar to the Chinese Academy of Science and Chinese Academy of Engineering. It's a very prestigious institution. And he's also served as the board of directors and the chair of the international affairs in the academy. So his research career is very long, and I don't want to read the entire thing, but I wanted to point out he has published over 500 journal papers and has supervised over 300 graduate students and postdoctoral fellows. I just don't know how he could do that with his energy. And he has received a lot of very important awards, including the Canadian Society of Chemical Engineering's award on the RJ Memorial Award, etc. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please join me. Welcome, Professor Zhu.
Hello, thanks, Professor Chen, for the nice introduction. And thanks for everyone for coming. I'm very honored and humbled to be invited here. I'm trying to talk a bit about a kind of unconventional seminar, not quite of a research seminar, but talking about how to do research. What is our strategy, okay? So that's my name. And some simple questions about research. I'm not going to read it, but you know, we're all busy with research, but have we ever thought about those? And I think, and through those questions, what's the essence here? What is really the thing we're talking about? And then we can ask some very simple questions, further questions. What's the purpose of life, okay? And what is a university? Why go into university? And what's the purpose and method of study? And then what's the essence of engineering? Have we ever thought about that? And how to shape your career path and how to view your career selection? So those are the questions we should be thinking earlier in your stage, and through which we probably could better project or plan our career, right? So why doing graduate studies? There are all different purposes. You maybe say, oh, I'm coming to study, but maybe more than that. Maybe you just want to make some friends, which is acceptable, okay? As long as you do the minimum path, I would say, of course. But I would say any or all about is okay. But as long as you contribute into the human society and that you're doing something meaningful. Okay. So remember the name university originally means a whole, a universe, everything. So we should be encompassing many things. We should allow a diversity, and that's the purpose of universities. University is not a starting place. Well, it is a starting place, not only a starting place. You need to remember that. So we could also think about the purpose of life. We've been thinking about that, but have we reviewed that? What is a human being? And what is special about us? If you think in the Earth is about 4 billion years, and mammals are 320 million years, and humans is only 2 to 3 million years. Okay, very short if you consider the whole history of the globe. But how could we dominate? Why we dominate, right? So those people study, ancient history says language and ability of abstraction. It's that make people very special. They can work collectively, communicating and collaborating. Then we change the history, we're changing and shaping the world. So if that is the case, what we do here, we need to think about the origin, the essence. So what is the essence? Essence here is that we are part of the society, okay? The success will start the society based on collaboration, communication, and contribution, the 3 C's, right? So we need to be part of that. We need to be actively participating in the 3 C's, right? So language. What is the language? The language is broadcasting, communication, in all different languages. But what's the purpose? If we check the language scale, there's no language, and then spoken language, written language, and right now with the ChatGPT and DeepSeek, this is exploding over the roof, right? But it is because of the language that make human beings very strong. And then I'm going to skip that. And so the true meaning of your life is humans need to communicate, and human are social animals, collaborate, contribute. Okay, human needs to contribute, communicate, collaborate, and contribute to society. That is for the better life, betterness of mankind, and is also for our own progression, for our own career development. Okay? So that's the first message. The second message is that every key development of the society has been associated with the development of science and technology. So that this stone is a Stone Age one. It is this one dominated human society probably for 2 million years. It's a weapon, a tool, and many other things. But with that, we are able to be able to kill and the bigger animals with this, and we can able to cut the skins and making anything to happen. And the fire, of course, the picking man 50 years ago, 50,000 years ago, already being able to know how to use fire. Okay? And with fire, you can eat the cooked meal and then cooked meat, which actually very, very useful, develop your brain capacity and so many things. So what I'm saying now is, as part of the science and technology community, we need to play a very active part of this. We have the duty to do that. And then the evaluation of your performance should be really based on those. Are you making real contribution? It's not sometimes, how many papers you publish, how many awards you get, but those are not really the thing you want to chase. The thing you want to chase is your contribution. So if you have an argument with your boss, you can say, hey, look, I'm chasing the bottom line here. Because sometimes you're probably research something for the future, which is not recognized by others right now. And then you need to persistent and keep doing that, okay? So you need to feel the history, and those help you to shape your career and your thinking right now. And then what is research? In the old Chinese, we say, if you read 10 papers or 10 books, you can write another book. Or maybe you read, nowadays you need to read 100 books and write another book. Okay, 100 books, write another book. But you can do also 3 experiments, And then you get what you're thinking and publish, okay? And remember in research, we divide them into basic research and applied research. So basic research, curiosity driven, and it's help to fuel the applied science, applied research. Applied research costs more basic research. So those two are closely related, and you need to be careful and be vigilant about those and thinking. So if I put on this kind of a diagram or coordinate, if I put fundamental research on one side and applied research on the other, and you can see those two are there. Okay, definition of creative systematic working undertaken to increase the stock knowledge, that's basic research. The lower part is applied research. It doesn't mean you cannot do both. Right? So basically you can think the basic research people are here, they just look around, this is interesting, let's study that, and they find results, they put in the stock. Assuming you have a lot of bookshelves there. You put it on the bookshelf, hey, this is what I got, I don't know what it's for. The other people, the other group of people, the application people on the other side say what they have and solve real problems, right? But nobody stops you from running to the other side. Okay, I have this discovery, nobody's using that. Oh, I want to use it. You go to the other side of the shelf, which is okay. But the thing is that you need to be clear. I think my message is that you need to be clear. So here I do a simple line map on the location of each of that. On the very left side is the basic research. On the right side is applied research. But R&D can be different because you could have big R, small d, or bigger D, small r. Like my research in chemical engineering is more towards the bigger D. If I towards the bigger D or network chase or able to get Nobel Prize, you have to be on the basic. So if you are on the basic research, for example, you do need to check impact factor. Right now it's called the field weighted citation index, which is better than the other one. And then this one you really have to apply, find industrial realization. Okay, this word is I made up, realizer is the word I made up, okay? It's not in dictionary. And then here you would, a word would indicate that, but I invented another word, money words, which means really the value of your study. So if you're doing the applied research, you need to chase the societal value. If you do basic research papers, impact factors, this is what you need to follow. And sometimes you be prepared to learn some because maybe nobody know what you're doing, okay? And you have to be persistent. But the publication, the pure purpose of publication is for communication, not for telling your boss how many papers I publish, okay? Or the citation index. Rather, it is to communicate. So if imagine these people are sitting together, you're talking about the result, and then you tell the other part of the table, and with papers, you will be able to remote it, making the two places rather remote. You know, this can be in China, this can be in Europe, because of the papers. That's the purpose of having, that's the sole purpose of having papers. And applied research is different. You're aiming at purpose. And usually, for example, in chemical engineering, it's a more scale study. And of course, commercialization is always important, evaluations. Success makes one happy, but sometimes you can also generate garbage if you didn't design correctly. So this is why I participated in design of the Shell refinery in Singapore when I was working for Shell. And we were successful in that, it's still there. But you could generate some garbage, which didn't realize. You design everything, but you cannot start. It generates garbage. Those things also happen. So that's applied research. It becomes a ghost town or ghost factory. So thinking of research, you can think about those things, okay? Finding and solving problem. Sometimes finding the problem is probably even important than solving, because you cannot find the problem, you cannot solve it. And seeing the truth and understand yourself. And remember, in English, PhD means Doctor of Philosophy. Within China, in the Chinese language, you call it Doctor of Science, Doctor of Engineering. But in the Western world, they call it Doctor of Philosophy because they think what you're truly learning as a graduate student is learning a philosophy. It's more important than the knowledge itself, which is, I believe is true. I always tell my students, how much of the things you learn in PhD will be really used for your life. I made an estimate, probably 5 to 10% of my PhD students are really doing the same thing or similar thing as they did in PhD. The others all change. But why they need to study with me? Because I teach them those. And they can use this philosophy to be able to prosper. Okay. Up to today, from the 80 PhD students I supervise in Canada, not including China, 4 of them is already becoming fellow of the Canadian Academy of Engineering, which is very rare. I don't think anybody have done that. And they all work on different research areas, by the way, not with me. So it is important to be that. Okay, coming back. If we have student, you would ask, what is my way? What should be my way? So this is the basic research, applied research, okay? You could go this way, of course, if you're more interested in basic research, and you say, okay, I do the basic research, and then later on, I do a little bit of applied, or I do applied and do a little bit of fundamental. None is wrong. You can do anything if you like, okay? You have to follow your own interest and your own characteristics. You could go this way as well. So as I said, your specific route, your choice. But what I'm trying to say is that you have to be clear what you're doing. If you chose, or if you happen to be on the pure research side, you have to be very careful in doing, you're doing theoretical, you make your theory sound, and you're very in detail. But if you do applied, you have to be practical, right? So basically, what should be my pathway? And normally, there's no wrong or no correct or wrong, but mostly probably this way, most of the students, because when you study, you want to start from fundamentals, you're going a little bit, and then you begin to do research. And then, in Britain, there's a supermarket called Safeway. I don't know whether we have it in Hong Kong, but that's usually a safer way for younger people. But if you say, hey, I want to do this, fine, no problem. But the trick is that as long as you don't drive yourself dizzy, you know where you are. This is probably a better way. Or if you are very precise, okay, maybe Professor Chen did that, as you do it precisely on this, and you will become very successful. But you really have to be careful between those. So how to balance two is very important. You can do it, okay? And my way or both way. But remember, what I showed you is not a complete picture, because this has four quadrants, okay? We only talk about first quadrant, but what if you fail into the other quadrant, okay? And then you realize research is not your not your pick. You just leave. You do something else. So no problem. It's not a failure. It's your choice, right? So you need to think about if you're not on top, just forget about that. Forget about that. Making some friends, got a minimum pass, got your certificate from Professor Chen, and then you leave and you do something else. No problem, because even businessmen, they need to have some knowledge of how research is done, right? And you're probably good in that. You're probably actually making more money than the professors here. Okay, and so I think my message here to everybody here is you must be clear on what you're doing. You must be clear. This way or other way or one way, both way, no problem. But you need to just need to be clear. Otherwise, it's counterproductive. And you remember the original purpose. Don't be driven by other things, other glories or something like that. And you find the purpose and see through the issues. You have to say, what I'm doing, very simple. And you have to prepare the the necessary skills. Okay, I'm trying to give an example. Forgive me, I have this in Chinese. I trust most of you read it, but otherwise I'll explain it. And this is a very famous dish in Chinese, right? Called Hong Shao Rou. It's a stewed pork. Okay, but what is really the essence here to make a nice, tasteful, beautiful dish? Basically, it's actually two steps. The first step, you have to take some time to soften, to make the meat tender so you can bite on that, okay? Soft. You can eat, it's not hard enough, no longer hard, so you can eat them. But by doing that, almost the only way to do it is to use water to boil it, okay? Because water sustains at 100 degrees and keep it there. But if you only boil this at 100 degrees, it's not very tasty. So after it's soft, you have to have a high temperature process to make the surface beautiful. And then you have to raise the temperature to 110 degree, 150 degree, a high degree, so it becomes oily and tasty. Okay? As long as you understand that, you can make a good dish. So even this, you can do research. Okay? And you can, through research, I bet you after you listen to my lecture, everybody can do this after you go home. Just sustain a long time, low temperature process for an hour or two, and then a high temperature process to get the taste down. If you don't use boiling, you can use oven, but low temperature, not high temperature, okay? You can do it. So that's why one of the famous premier of the Chinese in Chinese history said, when you govern a country, it's just like cooking. As long as you really understand the essence, they are the same. And then what if you just stir fry meat, pork pieces, small pieces, chops, right? It's totally opposite, because when you cook pork, remember, you either get it ready within 1 minute before it's getting harder, or you took it over 2 hours to make it soft again. You got me? If it's under 1 minute, it's still soft and you can eat it. If you stir fry for 5 minutes, good luck. Okay, it's as hard as rock, as hard as rock. So basically, in doing that, you would have to finish it in 1 minute. And in chemical engineering, we talk about the 3 transfers. So you would have to prepare it before you start cooking. You get the taste in, everything in, and you have to have a big wok, because the big wok, iron wok or steel wok, can accumulate a lot of heat, right? And like a heat sink. So when you put the meat in, it's not cool very quickly. So you keep the high temperature, and you cannot cook too much. If you cook too much, it's getting cold and it's ruined. All right? So this is what you can do. And if you understand it, you'll be able to do it. Okay? Now let's traverse this a little further. This is very famous in Cantonese area, right? I'm sure in Hong Kong. But I don't know whether you make it at home, but you always seem to feel the one you make at home is not as good as the one from the restaurant. And I'll tell you, here's a trick, very simple trick. If you learn, you can do it. You can do it tonight. So basically what it is the chicken is not cooked. Okay, it's not cooked to be ready. It's actually put into water, and through soaking, high temperature soaking, is ready. So basically, it's not cooked, and it's not heating when the chicken is in the pot. Okay? As soon as you start heating up, bubbles begin to because the gas bubble or the water boiling, the bubble began to appear, and they start from the inside the meat, the taste is ruined. Okay? So that's how to do it. But why you couldn't do it while you're home? Because you don't have a big pot. So if you put the chicken in, you try to make it cook, it's not, because the temperature quickly gone to 70 degrees, and you cannot cook it. So what you do is actually, okay, this is the problem. What I did is I prepared 2 pots of water, hot water. Everyone, I boil it to 100 degrees and stop the electricity and put the chicken into one, warm it up. But I cannot sustain 100 degrees because the chicken is cold. And then when the chicken is warm up to 70 degrees, I put another pot, it is ready. Okay? So this one I sometimes thinking is, so I put the knowledge into 3 levels. You have a knowledge, you have the capability, but you have the wisdom. Okay? Knowledge, capability, but this one, you transfer the same, not the same thing when I'm talking about pork and chicken, but the idea is similar. You drive what it is, you find what is the origin, and you get it done. Okay? So, and another example is in your cell phone, we always have a scan function. Sometimes it's called 超级文档, sometimes it's called scanning. If you check, most of the better software has that function. What it does, it's just exactly doing this. If I'm giving a seminar, you want to take a picture, you take a picture, but the picture is not square. So what you do is you use that function to transfer that into a square picture. So just like this one, you mark it and become this one straight, okay? So you got a nice slide of my presentation. You can try it. But that's just the knowledge and capabilities. But what I'm going to show you, you could actually do it for something else. You see, this one is a palace in Spain. I was there. I want to take a picture of the palace, but there's another building behind it. So I cannot take a picture of straight picture. So what I do, I take the picture and I think in this function, I use that function to straighten it. Now I get a better picture. You got me? Okay. So basically, you're using one thing and for other purpose. So basically, what I'm saying is that cell phone scanner, and again, you become wisdom. And this is what you need to do research. You need to think what it is, what is the purpose. For example, when you have the cell phone scanner, you can use it for sure, but have you ever asked, what is this program is really doing? The program is not really doing scanning, it just re-project, right? Your picture, restore or distort or de-distort your picture. And you can use that for that purpose. Okay, so again, we come back to PhD, Doctor of Philosophy, able to see the essence, and that's the purpose of doing. So expectation to our university student, what I usually say is undergrad student know how to use textbook, and master student know how to actually solve problem, and PhDs need to discover problem and then resolve the problem. Okay, not only solve, resolve the whole thing. Defines the issue and creatively solve the issue. That's what we want, expect for PhD student. So I'll give you a few examples of my own research, and that's my quick career. I don't think we get time to do it, but okay, I'll skip this. And at some moment, okay, after my PhD, I went for Shell to work, and then I realized I think I want to go back to academic because I think I have more freedom. That's what I want to do. So in 1990 is the mark point. I went back to academics. So knowing what you are best at, leaving Shell, because I think I have a way to communicate with my student to pass knowledge. So that's why I decided to go back to academy, accepting research group, and learn how to spin off technology. And now I'm as a new VP of the Eastern Institute of Technology. I have to do innovation. I'm in charge of the innovation of the university, but I said double innovation because I have to discover or create innovative ways of doing innovation. And then my research is fairly simple, particle technology. So in many places you have particles and you see directly or you don't see behind the chemical plant, but there are a lot of particles. And my technology or my research is really to fluidize them, to blow air or water through and make them suspended. And I can use that, okay? That's why I got to know Professor Chen, because he simulated what I'm doing in research. And I'll talk about one technology. This is called pulmonary drug delivery, which means you make the drugs into very, very fine particles. You inhale it. So that's considered to be a separate way of delivering drug. It's very useful because it's very direct. You see, if you consider your lung, it's got 80 to 100 square meters of space. It's almost the size of the room. Oh, 2/3 of the size of the room is your lung area. And then if you make the medicine very small, deposit there, they absorb into the water, the blood very quickly, and then it's getting effect in about 2 minutes, 5 minutes, okay? But the particle has to be very, very small. If they're too big, they don't get into your lung. They end up in your mouth or throat. It's not very useful. So the key thing becomes, how do we make the particles very, very small? So make the formulation and then dispense them, because the quantity is very, very small as well, which I'll show you. So we work on all those areas. This is more than 30 years ago. And then you can see that this volume of your sum, half of your sum need to be divided into 10,000 portions, 10,000 portions. Okay, this is your sum. Okay, divided 10,000 portions, but the particles are very sticky, and also the volume is very small, so making them very difficult to dispense accurately, okay, to divide. So this is something we have to do. So the particles, when they're small, they become very, very cohesive. The flour, if you ever do cooking, the flours in your home is 50 microns. It's 10 times bigger than that. You already find it's very sticky. So that's why we got so-called poor fluidization, the agglomerate. So we have to find a way to overcome that. Otherwise, when you spray out the particles, they become cloud. It doesn't work. So what we need to do, we need to find some way to suspend them very, very uniformly. But the reality is that when you put the particles in, you're not able to uniformly suspend them because they get stick on the wall and having problems. So what we do, my invention is like this. You have the fluidized bag and particles get stuck. What if I rotate it by 90 degrees? I rotate it by 90 degrees, and then it becomes this. Of course, particles keep blowing, so you blow the particles up. But if you continue doing that, the particle will get suspended. So this is one of my first technologies, first group of technology I have. So what I have is I invented this so-called rotating fluidized bed. So what we have is that there's a fixed cylinder, the light green one, light blue one, and then we have 2 channels for the gas go in and 4 channels to leave that. And then we have the black is another cylinder, the black part, but the double cylinder is rotate. So what happens is that when the particle get in, they do get stuck onto the surface, okay? But the black one rotate. So the black part, the red particle stick to the top, being rotated below. When they rotate it below, you can easily blow them up. So basically, as if you don't like to listen to my lecture, everybody stick to the wall, okay, away from me. But if I'm able to rotate, if I go there, and everybody don't like me go here, and if I go there, if I keep rotating like 3 times a minute, I get everybody in the middle, right? So that's what I did with my purpose is to get the particle in the middle so they get suspended. So we're doing that, we get it suspended, and then this is a technology. So basically, hold on a second, I need to play with that. Go back. Okay. Can you play that little arrow? So this is the fluidized gas, and because of that, the particles stick to the wall, but they get blown back. Okay? So this is the technology we have, and this forms the basis for my technology doing the pulmonary drug delivery. So what we're getting from this? You know, we're thinking outside the box because we're continuously rotating the distributor and the filter, the exit filter, so that we avoid the problem. We have a compromise. If you say engineering, one of the essence of engineering is compromising. For example, there's a bridge, okay? I'm always right. I said the bridge is going to collapse. I said, no. Oh, not in 100 years, but what if in 200 years? It's going to collapse, right? So, but what we do, we compromise. We build something, we say 20 years or 30 years. But not, we do it, how do you say, we don't avoid doing that because it's going to collapse in 30 and 50 years. You solve other problems. So it's a compromise, right? You don't feel that because you say, oh, well, my lifetime is 70, 80 years, so I don't care about 50 years. But the reality here is you have problems. So you compromise, you avoid the problem, keep doing that, and you have an incomplete solution, but give you a permanent solution. If that is not clear, I'll give you this picture. When you ride bicycle, you're compromising every second, right? Because you're standing on the bicycle, it's always fall, right? You always fall. So what do? You turn it to adjust it. So every second you're adjusting it, you're compromising, but you're very successful. You can run with a bicycle, okay? So this is something we need to remember. I think this is an illuminating story example that you need to think innovatively and practically and get things going. So this is how I did. I used this. What I did is I create a cloud particle, and the particle were coming out from here, nicely suspended in the air. And with that, I can put my drug in. So what do I do here is the 100 microgram, not milligram, microgram. The 100 microgram particle get here, get suspended, and I draw them into this little cell, and the cell size, okay, we're talking about millimeter, 0.5 millimeter size, every dosage. You fill them in, and then you entrain the particle into here. Another picture showing that. Oh, I haven't removed this Chinese, I thought I did. Okay, so you turn upside down, so the particles coming from here, suspended, you suck them into this little cell, and you load them. Okay, this is how you load them uniformly. And then you have that into my inhaler. The white, the yellow on top is the loaded disc. I'll show you a picture. So this is my original inhaler. And this is what we do. So we load the particle into those little cells, and we put them into the inhaler and put them in. And this is how we make the first generation. Of course, this is not a commercial one, it's the original design. It's not a commercial one, but we have done it for 20 years. And finally, we're able to get product with inhale, pseudo inhale, and we now have some product, different type of product. And I bought one, which is to help sleeping. So this is a melatonin. Okay, probably coming back. We got the melatonin, and then this is the sleeping pill. Okay, so you take the drug, not the drug, this melatonin, and in about a half hour you feel sleepy. But it's normally it's going to the I'm sorry, stop it. Oh, I cannot do it. Okay, I don't do that. If I do it, I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, so basically, if you see the graphs here, if you take orally it get a long time take into your blood, and then it lasts for long. So it takes half hour, you feel it, you go to sleep, but then the medicine stay in your body for a long time. When you're ready to wake up, it's probably still there, so make you a little bit dizzy. So with our technology, the figure on the left is that you inhale, it's quickly going into your lung. In about 3 to 5 minutes, you feel sleepy. Okay, and also the amount of melatonin you put in is 1/20th of the quantity, so you don't have problem. And with that, we developed a few type of that, and this is for you, Professor Chen. If you, with your jet lag or anything, you can try it, okay? And this is on the Taobao now. You can actually buy it. And I also developed coating technology through this. So with particle technology, so what I did is that the paint, if you're thinking of the paint, right? But you always think of smells, right? When you think of painting, because you use organic solvent to carry the resin, and then when you apply it, you drive away the organic solvent, and the paint, the resin stay. But my technology is to use particles, not to use solvent. Just use the fine particles, the resin make it into fine particle and spray them. Okay, but to spray them, I need to overcome the same thing. The problem with the particle sticking to each other. So what I did is I put nanoparticles in between the fine particles to make them flow, to make them like reduce the friction or roller. Sometimes we call it roller effect. And because of that, I don't have time to give the details. And because of that, we are able to make the flow much better. You see, those particles, poor fluidization, after nanoparticles in, we have very good fluidization. Then with the good fluidization, we can spray the fine paint powder, okay? See, this is a picture. You have organic solvent, which is actual cost, mixed with pigment resin. You spray it, and then you drive the organic solvent away. So solvent is both costly and having environmental problems. So my technology is forget about that, just use the other side. And then, this is the thing you prepare. And with particles, we mix them together, we grind them down into fine, and we spray them. And this is the fine particle. The one on the left is coated by fine particle. The one on the right is coated by coarse particle. Oh, only 5 minutes, okay. And then we are able to do the automobile coating, because otherwise we cannot. So coming back to that, we have the so-called nanomodulation technology. We use particles to separate fine particles, and we get it. Okay, I think I want to talk about that. And then again, the technology that we use nanoparticles to separate the microparticle. So the microparticle is my spray. But after that, I realized I actually invented another technology I wasn't thinking. I realized what is second one is that I'm also able to disperse nanoparticles, because it's very difficult to disperse nanoparticles. So say it again, I was using nanomaterial to disperse my microparticle. But then I realized actually, if you think in the other way, I also use microparticle to disperse nanoparticles. So thinking that way, what we do is we find functional nanoparticles, for example, superhydrophobic particles, to produce other coatings. I need you to play, oh, it's playing, sorry. So what we did is I put in superhydrophobic nanomaterials into my coating, and then we produce coatings like this. This is my coating. This is a regular coating. It's on the on the right side. You can see. So those are superhydrophobic coatings. They're very, very useful in many other ways. Can do that. So that's another technology, and I don't have time. So we again we spin it off to powder coating for drugs. Okay, I don't have time to talk about that, but it's another technology. It's another company. we apply this to the medicine. And we also did the coating with replacement, hip replacement, for example. The hip replacement one, because they, some people use that, need to replace their hip, and then you do that, and also implant. But what happens that you have about 5% get contaminated, then you have problem. And then what we do is we pre-coat it with antibiotics and other things to prepare to prevent from that. Again, I don't have time to talk about that. The last one I wanted to talk about very quickly is wastewater treatment. In wastewater treatment, basically, you use microbes to literally eat or consume the dirty stuff. But the microbes do not stay in the because microbes are so small, they flow with water. So what I did is I put in, see, it takes a lot of space because you need a lot of space to grow the microbes. So what I did is to use particles, to put my particles in, and then allow the microbes to grow on my particle. So I accumulated a lot of that. So in other words, imagine here is a room, okay, the full of water is wastewater, and you have a lot of microbes. They're very small, and they try to eat the dirt and make it clean. But the microbes cannot stay in the room because the water flow, right? So you have to catch the microbes and recycle them. It's very, very tedious job. So what I do, because I'm doing fluidization, I know how to suspend particles. So I suspend a lot of particles in the room, and the microbes, okay, they find space. They'll stick to the microbes. I put the particles in, and the microbes start to grow on the particles. So all of a sudden you have many more, million times more microbes in the room, so they become effective. So my technology is 10 times more efficient than other places. So the wastewater treatment has become very efficient. Not only that, it's actually brought in revolutionary changes. For example, in Hong Kong, I don't know where is a wastewater plant because you normally don't see it. They're smelly, they have to be far away from the city because they need a lot of space. But with my technology, because it is now more efficient, you can do it just in your basement because they are small. So if you're thinking of the wastewater cycle, with the water cycle, you take the water from the lake, and then you have the drinking water treatment, you use it, and then you waste it, and you have to have wastewater treatment plant, and you're going back to the river or lake. And this is the big cycle thing, or current big cycle. But the big cycle would take you to countryside. But with my technology, you can do small cycle. You can have a small thing in an apartment to trade it. And then it saves a lot of stuff, and the water can be recycled. And the wastewater plant is no longer needed, a big one. For example, you can put some tanks within the underground apartment, you can already treat the water. Currently, you can treat the water, but you will need too much space. You don't have it in the city. Okay, but this will take 20 years to develop. Right. Nowadays, we're successful. That's another place where, for example, this one, my student experimenting. This is in Tianjin. It's a village of 800 people. And this small area is enough to treat all their wastewater. So you can do it in-house. Okay, I'm going to jump through all those with the time. And I just want to say, maybe I'll now see that most of the student, right? So as a student, I would suggest you making friends with your professors, okay? And because you have common interest and knowing respect, I sometimes ask my question, how much you want to learn from me? Okay, if you're a student, I have this knowledge, what percentage you can inherit from me or learn from me? Some students say, oh, maybe 70%. I said, if you only learn 70% from me, your next generation will be even less. So what's the idea here? It is because you're learning from yourself. So my job is to help you to think, me and you to supervise yourself together. So my job is stimulate your thinking and having group discussion to do this, okay? So reflect, I'm getting to the end of that. Reflect, this is what I'm doing, basic research applications. This is what you need to think about. And then also proactive thinking, curiosity, and I want to say the 4 steps of learning: knowledge, capability, wisdom, and consensus. Okay, 知识、能力、智慧和良知. I think we need to go through that. All right, I think I'm reaching the end, and this is just review. Forget about that. I'm going to stop. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you very much again for very inspiring talk. Now I think we got time for questions and Q&A here. So in front of you, you see there's a button you can push, and there's a microphone. You can use that to ask questions. Now, when you talk about this, I think it's very important for the student to learn each other. Getting 70%, just look at your conclusion. Getting 70% from professor might not be a good thing to have. Please, yeah.
I have a question. For example, if you are a young researcher and you are chasing for like a permanent job, like a tenure track, I mean, previously the impact factor or your track records were important, but there is a rumors that nowadays some universities prioritize your commercial background. For example, do you have a startup? Did you raise money? Something like this. What's your opinion about that?
Obviously, different universities could have different criteria for this. And when you join university, before you join, you need to understand that. After you join, you need to understand the rules. You try to satisfy that. But what I'm thinking is that you also have to develop your own real stuff. What is your research? What is the essence? Because without that, you cannot be long-term successful. You may be short-term. So my experience that you have to have something of your own. Like my particle technology, I apply it, but after a certain time, you can almost apply it in many, many places. Like I don't run company, but my students run in different companies. They become majority, they're their company. It's not my company, but I'm very happy to provide the support. But the reason we could have so much success is because we understand the essence. We know how to do it. So when you're doing research, you need to be really thinking, do I really understand? Do I really making contribution to the society? That's why I spend the first 5-10 minutes to talk about, why you need to answer those very basic questions. And of course, you have to face reality in the society. You need to, satisfy the boss to a certain extent. But if you only producing numbers try to satisfy the short-term goals, you're really going to lose the long-term goal.
Other questions? Yes.
So thank you, Professor Zhu. Very nice talk and very inspiration. So I have 2 questions. One is about the career development. Another is about the scientific question. So the first question is, as a new faculty, I would like to know how can we do the very independent work, which is quite separate with your previous supervisors, because when we enter the department, we are always asked to do the, innovative or the separate works. So my second question is about the your innovative technology about the nanoparticle separation. So you inspired us with about the the micro nanoparticles to separate the nanoparticles and use the nanoparticles to separate the macro. And I would like to know how we can we separate the nanoparticles or the macro particles very smoothly, because you know, when we use the catalytic process, most of the time we use the same size, but especially for the nanoparticles, their separation is not very good. Thank you.
Okay. I began to forget your first question. Your first question is career development.
Yeah,
right?
as a new faculty, how we can do the separated works or the in research
Independent.
directions.
Okay. You know, there's many ways you can do it, but what I'm trying to tell people here, not necessarily exactly the thing I did. I would advise people to really drive for the essence what you're doing. So you probably should always keep in mind, is this really what I wanted to do? Even your colleagues say, oh, become professor, glorious, and here, is really what you want? You know, maybe not. But if it is, and then you try to think, as I said, what's your basic stuff? Like, I'll give you an example. I worked for Shell for a couple of years after graduate. I was doing fine. My boss was very happy. I'm very happy. I got promoted. But, you know, I was thinking, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? Because when I was younger at high school, I always tutor other students. And I have a special ability to communicate about passing on knowledge. So I think that's really wasteful if I continue just to be an engineer in a company. If being a professor, I can use that, you know, this is part of my thing. So I want to become a teacher. So I went back. I suffered about 40% salary loss to go back to academy. But I did. I think I did the right decision in that. Or part of that. I think only answer part of your question, of course. It's a long question, so it takes hours to answer that. The second part, in terms of research, how we twist different ideas, is really you need to be practical. That's why I always say, thinking of the society, what is needed. So you have to, for example, the knowledge I was talking, I attend seminars, the use microparticle to disperse is a better word, disperse the nanomaterials. Is I have been attending seminars. People saying the nanomaterial, nanotubes, the carbon nanotubes, how useful they are, how strong they are. And I ask, if it's so strong, why don't we put into, you know, your clothes? It's going to be very strong. I say, oh, we cannot disperse it. They all twinkle together. So I have that in mind. And one day I was working on that, on the other opponent part, using nanomaterials to disperse micromaterials. And when we were successful in powder coating, one day I realized, oh, maybe, you know, but without paying attention to those things in your daily life, you wouldn't be able to do that. So basically, when I listened to Professor Wei talking about that, I think, oh, could I help to solve that problem? If that problem is solved, you know, the clothes you're using can be very strong, or some of the panels can be superconductive. So I think coming back to, I think one of the arguments I made is coming back to my talk, is that you truly need to think, as a researcher, you're making contribution to the society. If you keep that in mind, engineers can always find things to do.
Other questions? Yes, please.
Professor, good morning, and thank you for your sharing. I really like the cooking part. Yeah, I can easily understand because I'm a student of a language. And I want to ask a question that my research target is about language teacher and about human things. But most of my classmates, they're interested in the AI things. So yeah, they always ask me, why don't you try the AI to study the AI things like AI, something like that. But I feel that if we all care about AI, so who will care about human? But I think this may cause me a little problem when I finally graduate and find a job in the university. I don't do a very deep research, but I just look through. I think maybe in the university, the boss wants us to do something about AI, or they want the researcher, they are studying something about AI. So I don't know, should I just go on with my interest, or should I just to add some AI things to my research?
Well, if you're coming back to the basic, I'm saying what you learn, you try to serve the society, right? You try, you're spending so much time to learn, without contributing, somebody has to pay you, your parents or society, and you have to return that. So when you return, you contribute to society. But since developed with AI, so the best way you can make contribution, you can use the AI as a tool and to incorporate with what you learned and to work together. You should not completely refuse AI because then you wouldn't be able to contribute. But you shouldn't be completely rely on AI because AI is not reliable. It's not completely reliable, right? So your knowledge you have to build your knowledge above the AI. You say, well, how I fit into that. For example, somebody there, you can teach him, you can use AI, bring you to here, and the rest is on me. So I think as long as you understand the societal need and you're making contribution, you can find your way, your niche, whatever. I'm myself interested in this. I wrote a book about English writing, actually. And I've been thinking the same thing I've been thinking, it's total waste now. It's not. Medicine is still, still have to have human beings because human beings are creative. Maybe AI can be creative one day, but not yet.
Okay, other questions?
There's one there.
Oh, sorry, back there. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, Professor Zhu. It's my great pleasure to attend to your lecture and chat with you. And I have a question about the connection between the research and application. And actually, I'm a student from the business school, so I'm not really I understand the connection between the research and application in some technology, and the science majors can be closer. However, I'm from the business background, so so every time
I didn't hear clearly. What's your background? What's your research?
Business.
Business. Okay.
Yeah, business. Every time I talk to my professor, I want to go to the professional development career. At the same time, I also want to do some research based on this. They will get shocked. They will criticize and they will question about my motivation. But we PolyU, we cherish the apply to learn and to apply to the benefits of the mankind. So I don't know the motivation between the professor who show their criticism and the resistance from my this patient about the connection between my application and research. And the second question is about if there's exactly time points to turn the research idea into the application one. What's appropriate time points you suppose I do this transformation?
I think your first question is, you're doing business, why you want to do papers? Okay. Again, as I said in my talk, publication is to communicating your thoughts to others, something you think is useful and your understanding. So for business, you could have case studies, right? As my knowledge in business school is limited, but another good case study, you analyze them and you tell people, look, I observe this corporation. They go up or down, whatever, and then you write your understanding. You communicate your thought to others, so other people can learn from that, right? That's the purpose of publication. So I don't see any problem with that.
You mean my second question?
What?
My
Okay, say it again.
Okay, my second question is about if there's an exact time point to convert my research idea into application, it's appropriate for me to convert this into application when there's only an idea, or I should wait to the idea to more matured and then I convert it into the application.
That's what put into population is one thing, you can do it any time, right? Or when you can convert into application, it depends on many, many other factors. It could be tomorrow, could be 100 years later. It depends, if you can drive for that. For example, if you're super rich, like Musk, you don't worry about making money, or your parents is rich. You just carry this idea to everybody, say, hey, I have a good idea. Why don't we use it? Why don't we try it? And that's possible. If you cannot afford it, of course, you have to do something which make your own needs. And then you keep that in mind and find opportunity. It's too many stories in the history that many ideas don't get implemented until quite later, right? Yeah. I think you need to know what you're doing. That's important. Sometimes you have a good idea, but you don't have the money to support it. You have to make money to feed yourself first.
I believe also depends on the maturity of the knowledge,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
If you have a good idea, but might not be very practical at the moment, but 10 years later, because some other technology also could support your ideas, then it is possible. And other questions? Yes, please.
Hello, Professor Chu. So I do have a question regarding how to prepare for my own research career. I'm on my third year of the university, graduating next year, and I haven't found what is my field of interest for research. However, coming from an Asian family, the elder generation in my family always have the belief that if you achieve a higher education, you'll get a better job and better life. So I think the family is pushing me to do a postgraduate degree. And my assumption is that if I'm smart, if I work hard enough, I can successfully achieve a master's degree. That's no problem. But if I go to the PhD, I would like to ask for let's assume the smart and hardworking person, but without too much passionate in the field, how far do you think he can go in the research area?
Excellent question. To be honest, in Canada, when I supervise student, PhD student, I always ask them a question at the very beginning, what do you want to do in the future? Because in my group, I always have this applied research where I showed you, but I also have a lot of fundamental research, which I didn't show you. It's too hard to show in a few minutes. But I will ask them what they want to do. If they're not thinking of becoming professor, they're thinking of finding a job and try to do something practical. I would advise them to go to the applied side. It's equally a success if you find a job and contribute in society. For example, the group of my students working in pharmaceutical, they never had hard time to find a good job. They're well-paid job in big pharmaceutical companies. And the wastewater student always find a job. Rather, my fundamental research people having harder time to find a job, a longer time, but they eventually become professors and some become fellows of academy. Right? So I think you want to be clear, you don't have to push yourself in having to be, because he is a professor is a good example, but you don't have to be. And you cannot, because how many students he has, So out of 10 graduate students, only one position there as a glorious professor. So you can tell your parents that's, because people tend to think, because they only see the successful people. For example, it's very often when your schoolmates, when you're getting older, your high school fellow students meet together. Oh, this guy is successful, you see. This guy is a good businessman. You say, I should do that. But there are another 9 students tried business and failed, but they don't tell you. So you're thinking doing business is easy. but it's not. So your parent probably having that kind of thinking, but you need to tell them, or or at least you need to tell yourself. Not necessarily the case. So I learned the basics. I do a research. I know what is research. I realize, do I want to do this? If I want to do it, I go to post and doing professors and other things, right? If not, I can apply my knowledge and work for companies. There's no problem with that. And we need actually many smart people to do that. If I continue with Shell, I'm sure I'll be successful as well. Right?
Very good answer for that. Any other questions? So if not, let's thank Professor Zhu again for the nice talk. So to express our appreciation for Professor Zhu, prepare a plaque for you. All right, I'd like to thank all of you for coming here today to join this distinguished lecture. And I also wanted to express my sincere thanks for those who asked questions to make this session even more meaningful. So this session is adjourned. Thank you very much again.